You've stumbled into the Music Addict's Attic. I'm Chris. And this is Kit, by the way. When we talked about doing something of this ilk, we stumbled on the fact that everybody likes music of one type or another. Some people feel really strongly about it. Some people, it's just background noise. Some people take a particular interest in a certain artist. Some people, like the kind of people who'd be interested in a Music Addict, and this kind of collection, would travel hundreds, maybe thousands of miles to go to a landmark connected with an album or an artist. I'm that kind of person, and if you're interested in this kind of thing, welcome to the Music Addict's Attic. If you're the kind of person who would go to the pyramids in Egypt because the Grateful Dead played there in the late 70s, or go to the Royal Albert Hall because of the legendary concerts, specifically have that be a stop along your trip to London or Egypt, then you know just what I'm talking about. And one of the most famous rock and roll landmarks of the 20th century, without any question, is contained in an area of London, and it holds the single most famous crosswalk, inarguably, with no argument, the most famous crosswalk in the world. And if you say 20th century rock and roll or pop music crosswalk, what you think of is Abbey Road. The Abbey Road crosswalk is just down the street from Abbey Road Studios, pretty much a stone's throw, where the Beatles recorded virtually every note that they recorded in a studio setting. And getting the opportunity to cross that crosswalk is something that people have traveled from all over the world very literally to do, and have people take pictures of them. I first did it in the fall of 1984. We didn't have a camera, so there isn't a document. But subsequently, we've done it twice. August of 2018 with some friends, and August of the next year, 2019, with my son and his girlfriend and my wife. And it's a landmark that everybody knows, that everybody can connect with right away. You can hear some of the music off of the multi-platinum album Abbey Road when you're there, and when you just see the album photo. And I'm sure that you, my fellow music addicts, have been there too. And we'd love to see photos of you during that precious moment that you've brought home in handheld photo form or on a cell phone and shown people. I, for one, have been at parties and called it up on my phone, either the 2018 or the 2019 shot, and had people grab my phone and go running to a fellow Beatles fan and say, "This is so cool! Look at this!" I'm sure you've had the same thing happen. Show us your photos of you crossing the Abbey Road crosswalk. The Abbey Road crosswalk and the photo gained mythical proportions over the decades, and even at the time when the album came out, because of the totally fictional rumor established and fostered by the Beatles' PR people that Paul had died and been decapitated in a car accident several years before, was carried on by the Abbey Road photo. If you take a look at it, either as you hold it in your hands or think about it, the four of them walking across the crosswalk are supposed to be representing a funeral procession. At the front, on the right-hand side of the album cover, is John dressed all in white, supposedly as the priest. Behind him is Ringo, dressed inescapably, pretty much like in a black suit, black striped suit, I believe, looking like a funeral director. The dead man, third in line, walking barefoot, is Paul McCartney, and behind him, dressed quote unquote as a gravedigger, is George Harrison. And hints are rife from that picture, supposedly carrying on or continuing the myth of Paul's having been killed several years earlier, and the Beatles having trained an imposter to do all that Paul McCartney did. Paul, if you'll notice in the photo, is, as we said, barefoot. Part of the myth is that many, many cultures worldwide dressed their dead barefoot. Paul is holding a cigarette in his right hand, but he was left-handed. So this had to be a fake Paul, right? Look at the Volkswagen Beetle parked, which you can plainly see. License plate says 28 if. Paul McCartney was 28, was 27, excuse me, when the album was released. He would have been 28 at his next birthday if he had survived. The LMW above the 28 if is supposed to denote LMW, Linda Maid Widow, Linda Eastman McCartney, Paul's wife, first wife. That's what the LMW is supposed to indicate. So there wasn't any truth, of course, to any of this. Paul McCartney is still very much alive, one of the two remaining Beatles, but they carried it on and they played with it. And as many figures have said and did say in the 20th century, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And this is a little macabre. It was a little, made people reach and stretch, but it kept people engaged and interested in talking about the Beatles. Cocktail parties and just sitting around a college campus, and a very, very famous photo utilized for another use to keep the Beatles in the conversation in 1969. There are numerous other facts or myth continuing things that people over the years gleaned from the Abbey Road cover, both the front and the back, the circumstances surrounding the recording of the album that continued and perpetuated the myth of Paul's untimely death several years before this extremely famous photo was taken. What are some that you've heard of? And let's see if we can have some continuing fun with it, which was the whole idea from the start. People who take the time and have the passion and put in the effort to put together a musical collection like this, of which I should probably be embarrassed to say this is only a segment of my musical collection. I've seen in social media sites that I've gone on to regarding lots and lots of bands, Genesis, Jethro Tull, Cheap Trick, you name it. This is an absolute passion for us. This isn't something that we work at. This is something that's in our blood and our DNA. And you folks who have music addicts of your own and have experienced and lived music for most of your lives, as I have, feel this in your bones. You know what I mean. So the intent of this is to have fun, to delve into the pools of our musical passions, as we have in this first episode. And the next time, what we're going to try to do in the Music Addict's Addict is hit on another one of my absolute passions. The music of Van Morrison. Got the chance to visit the city of his birth. And if you love classic rock of this type, classic pop of this type, some of the best music of the 20th century or ever, you'll tune in with us next time. Until then, health, happiness, and great music.